Good evening and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. This is the Fatback 4. I'm Gav. With me I have Kev, Keith and Emmett. Brought to you by Féileacáin, our charity sponsor. Liverpool won, Spurs won from Anfield over the weekend. Man City have beaten Newcastle 5-0 today to go 3 points clear at the top of the Premier League. I have a better goal difference and we should all really be upset, but we're not, because fuck them. Alright, so anyone listening in their cars in the morning with kids, I should have given you a disclaimer on that, but I'm too late now. It's marked as explicit, there's nothing we can do about it, and it's marked on YouTube as not for kids, so don't be giving us a hard time. Loads to talk about. Kev and Chris done a brilliant show last night after the game. Wasn't the easiest show to do, I would presume, because Liverpool have been on such a roll that doing a show where Liverpool draw a game is unheard of at this stage, but they did go in depth into the game and everything that happened in it. So tonight we're gonna look at it in general, but we're also going to look back at some of the main talking points, I suppose. We're going to look at Klopp's comments afterwards that people have completely misconstrued. But another spoiler alert: Klopp is sound, Pep's a bell end, and we get into that in due course. But we're going to talk about Klopp's comments after the game. We're going to talk about how Man City are again saving football, which is the most bizarre thing in the world. And we're going to talk about Pep absolutely still fuming about midweek due to his comments, or because of his comments you heard after City's game. Keith, you've spent the day listening to Christy Dignam singing the Green Fields of France to get over this weekend, I presume. You're muted. I don't know why you're muted, but why is he muted? Why does he do this to me? Let me see.
He's still listening to Christy.
He's still listening to Christy. That's what it is. It says guest has muted himself, so let me see if I can get you back on here, Keith. I will in a minute, Keith. I'll sort you out in a sec. Emma, I'll come to you. It's a 1-1 draw. I'll put it to you. I thought Liverpool were good. I thought Spurs were good, and I thought Liverpool just fell a little bit short. And these things can happen.
I completely agree with you, and I know there's a lot of people out there, and like we said, heads falling off with the way Spurs played. They're allowed to play like that. It is frustrating, but they're allowed to play like that. Yeah, I thought we were really good up until about 18 yards from goal, and I don't know. Some people are saying, "Oh, we look leggy." I don't think we ran out of legs at all. I think at a certain point we ran out of ideas, and there were just balls being thrown into the box, and it felt like 3, 4, 5 years ago, and it was like we kind of didn't know what else to do, and it was just actually we'll just throw it into the box and see what happens. I think we had 47 crosses or something in the game, 21 of them from Trent, and they weren't his usual kind of quality of ball into the box where it's kind of zipped in. They were more kind of floaty in, and just the Spurs defenders were gobbling them up all day. Like, but I've nothing really to complain about. I thought we played well, and it's just, and people will be sick of hearing it. It's one of those games. Do you know what I mean? And you're gonna have one of those games. Like, we didn't lose; it was a draw. And if this is the way everybody reacts when we draw, like, do you know what I mean? It just goes to show you how high expectations we have now. Like, do you know what I mean? We're used to, and I know I hate going back and saying, like 10 years ago, we were out of everything in February. We're still in everything. Do you know what I mean? We used to be scrapping for top 4. Now we're fighting for all 4. So, like, chin up, everybody. And now there's a lot of people despondent, but like, come on, still 2 finals, like next Saturday and then the Champions League final, and the league isn't over yet either. A little bit harder than it was. We still need City to drop points. Nothing's changed. Okay, we need them to drop more points, but still they need.
We probably need them to drop points in 2 games now out of the last 3.
Yeah. Unless we go and absolutely hand Aston Villa their arse like and they did to us last year.
Yeah. But look, I do think it was one of those games. I agree with you. I think up to a certain part in the pitch I thought we were good, and then a mixture of us maybe not being patient enough and a mixture of them being really good. Because at the end of the day, you know, and I'll get on to Klopp's comments later because I agree with him, but this is an Antonio Conte side. So, and he's had months with them, and he's getting a week at a time, you know, to prepare himself for games, or, well, even unless he's playing midweek, but overall he's one competition to concentrate on. So, and he has found something with Spurs that they're quite good at the back. There is games where they're not quite good. I think they lose at home to Brighton and stuff like that. But overall, they can be solid. And I've said it before, Spurs suffer in games that they have to take the initiative. I think they don't suffer in games that they have to hold out or defend and they get a bit of luck or whatever it might be. You know, teams have tried this against us all season. You know, bar one or two. City don't really try that against us. And in fairness, Arsenal don't either. You know, they're probably the two. United are so naive and poor that you can't really count them either. But this is probably the best side we've come up against in the way that game is played. And that's not me saying, oh, we're not good enough, because that's the best side we've come up against and we couldn't break them down. We're playing a lot of games in quick succession. We've come into that one. We're really good first half. We're really fucking good first half. And you know something? I know it's tough at this time of the season, fourth game from the end of the league season, and you drop points and you go, oh, for fuck's sake, we really needed to win. The hope was to get it down to the final day maybe and be a point behind, or maybe even level or something like that. But it's just one of those. Keith, you're not muted anymore. You're back in. How do you feel about the game? How do you feel about it now? Because you probably had a chance to rewatch it, highlights, wherever it might be. How are you feeling?
Yeah, like yourselves, I felt Liverpool, they were going at it, they were having a go. I think the credit Spurs are getting is probably a bit over the top. You know, it's defensive teams playing defensive formations. I agree with everything Klopp sort of says. It's not really football, but you have to beat that type of thing. You know, people are praising the likes of Christian Romero. I'd love to see him in a two-man centre-half defence, you know what I mean, and see what he's made of. They just park the bus. You have to get past the parked bus. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but I think, you know, you can expect more from these attacking teams. And what Spurs did do was they got us on the counter attack very well. But I just never felt like Liverpool were, like, even Spurs scored that goal and I felt we'd still win the game. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way we are at the moment as fans. The way I am, I won't speak for yourselves, lads, and I won't speak for everyone in the chat or anyone listening. The days of Liverpool going behind and the world sinking are gone, because this team of, you know, they've gone from that to now being absolute monsters and mentality giants and all that sort of stuff. So we always felt we could have won the game. As the game went on, that sort of petered away. You know, as the last few minutes when I thought we would have been looking to break through, we just couldn't. And I don't know if it's a culmination of just games being played and running out of steam and things like that. But I just felt that we played well. I thought Spurs just were so negative, but were able to hit us on the break a few times. And we were lucky they didn't do it more, in fairness. But yeah, I just thought it was one of them games. It was always the game I think everybody thought we could have dropped points in. From a long time out, you looked at that and thought, that's the tricky one. And as you have said, it's a draw. It's not even a defeat. Do you know what I mean? And everybody is going on like the bleeding the end of days now. And look, we'll just have to wait and see. The problem now is that we do need City, where a win means we only need City to draw. Now we need them at least to lose. And I don't think we can catch them now on the goal difference either. So I think we're pretty fucked. Do you know what I mean?
We're far behind on the goal difference.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to score more than them. I think they're going to go and they're going to batter teams, because what usually happens is teams bend over.
If they were to lose a game and we were to win a game by 2 goals or 3 goals, it'd be level again.
Yeah. But I think the games they're going to win, I think we have a problem. I'm not going to dig out any players, but I think we have a problem up front, and I don't think we're going to outscore them. And that's the issue that I have with that. I don't think we're going to outscore them. Right, if they lose a game and they do take a hit on their goal difference, we'd have to then go into a shootout with them. We could do, but we need certain individuals to step up and do that.
Okay. Kev, you done the show last night. Owen Conway says, were you complaining about Spurs' defensive style when they were beat City with a Keith? I don't think we're complaining about Spurs' defensive style. They done exactly the same yesterday at Anfield that they done at the Etihad. They scored 3 at the Etihad. They scored 1 against us, and we didn't lose the game. You know, I don't know where the criticism comes. I haven't seen a lot of criticism of Spurs the way they play it. I think, for me, looking at the way Spurs and the players they have, I think they could be more expansive. But then you have to look at the manager. And the manager isn't expansive.
Down to the manager.
He wants to play that way. There's no issue with that. And you see, this is all born out of, and what I'll get to later, I'm dying to get to it. This is all born out of the comments by Klopp. And Klopp does not dig out Spurs.
No.
He doesn't dig out Spurs. But we'll talk about it in a few minutes. Kev, you done the show last night. You were probably the one with the most raw emotions after. Apparently, those family members coming on to you and giving out to you because you were getting upset. But you've had time to digest it. Probably look, as I said, to Keith, look back at it. You know, watch highlights, watch the game again, whatever it might be. It's a tough one to take. It's a tough one to take this time of the season. But there's always going to be games like that. It's just...
Yeah.
And the levels we're at, as we all... And Shawnee says it all the time, draws are like losses. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, it's just... You just take it on the chin.
Yeah, for me, look, it was more frustration. I hate losing to that or dropping points to that type of football in the first place. But to do it in the context of the season that we're having is doubly frustrating. And it wasn't the case that we went through that first half where we didn't have chances. Virgil had 2 good chances from headers, from good set pieces, good deliveries. There was one especially, there was an in-swinging corner. It was probably the only one we took for about 70 minutes. That he got a really good header on it, hit the crossbar. In the first half, I think they went up, Højbjerg hit the post from distance, but that's all they did in the first half. Diaz had a really good effort from outside the box. Lloris made a good save. Sometimes he parries that into the path of someone coming in. He didn't last night. That was the kind of rub of the green you needed when it's not clicking up front for you. And it just never fell. The ball never fell in a kind way. And I said this last night and I stick to it. There was only one side trying to win that game in a game that both sides needed 3 points. A draw was no good to anyone, as proved by Arsenal's results today. You know, the Spurs needed the win. They had a chance to win it at the end, but maybe it's because they have a negative mindset from the start that Højbjerg decided to try to header that one at the very end, a cross goal, rather than just bury it himself. It's weird. But, I mean, I'm frustrated with the result, not the performance, not the effort. There was effort and commitment, and they went as hard as they could. It just didn't go. It just didn't fall right. I think we had 13 block shots, 22 shots in total. We just didn't work Lloris enough. You know, Spurs defended like their lives depended on it. They threw themselves in front of the ball. They got loads of blocks in, last-ditch tackles. They defended really, really well, and that's great. But to say that it was a great performance by them, it wasn't. You know, there's plenty of other sides. We've drawn against sides who've done that to us this season.
Chelsea springs to mind, doesn't it, Kev?
Yeah,
you know, and they're a similar
Chelsea one
team. 3 at
Chelsea
the back,
won,
wing back start, you know, tuck in, and defensive midfielder sitting in front of them. And look,
Chelsea did it with 10 men, and you expect that when you go down to 10. You put up the barriers and you say a point, thank you very much, we're going home with a point, delighted with life. But in the context of the season, Spurs needed that win. And when you saw the way they set up in the first half, and there was a telly camera that panned back, and you seen the line, you seen the 5, the 4, and the 1, and you thought it's just going to be one of those games again, you know. And look, with the talent that they have with Kulusevski, Son, Kane, that will get you so far playing that way. But where they are in the table now is about as far as they're going to get with that kind of football. And if that's what passes for entertainment for Spurs, if they're happy to watch that, good, delighted for you, happy days. I couldn't get invested watching that week in, week out, because you said it yourself, Gavin. You were dead right in what you said. Their biggest problem is when they have to go and take the ball and take the initiative and make a game. And you saw what happened to him against sides like Brighton, where Brighton said, "Well, no, you have the ball. We don't want the ball. You have the ball, and then we'll counter you." And that's where they come unstuck. And maybe in time, in a couple of windows, and however much money they want to spend in it. But as long as Conte's got a hole in his arse, he's not going to change. That's the way he plays. That's the way he won the title at Chelsea. That's the way he's won when he was in Italy. And that's how he'll do it at Spurs. And what Klopp said after was not a dig out at Spurs. It was a dig out at the mentality that sides play with. It's just not the football that I like watching. And that's all it is. He said it's his problem. I think it's anyone's problem with a modicum of football savvy. You don't want to watch. You don't want to watch that. You want to watch sides going at it. And if we lost last night to a Spurs side that went at us, I wouldn't have a gripe, hands up, fair enough. But to drop points to that really frustrates the living shit out of me.
Look, when Liverpool drop points, it is frustrating because they're so good, and I said it the other day, like, Liverpool have lost one less game than City, and I think they've drawn 2 more games than City. Like, there's absolutely nothing in it. And yeah, a draw feels like a loss. And I'm not going to dig out Spurs for the way they played. I'll say it again, I think they could play a more expansive game of football, but they're not going to. And Liverpool knew that. Everyone knew that. And all the talk before the game between us and between people in WhatsApp groups or Telegram groups or wherever it might be would have been, only thing was being talked about was Spurs' threat against the high line. That was it. It wasn't Spurs are going to play around as a midfield. It wasn't Spurs are going to run our fullbacks ragged. It wasn't, balls into the box, Kane can live off. It wasn't any of that. It wasn't Spurs going to play out from the back and try to beat our press. It was all about the high line and getting one ball in behind us. And in fairness, Liverpool were good at it yesterday. Again, very, very good at it. But sometimes it just doesn't fall for you. It doesn't. And I said it last week. Liverpool could end up with 1 trophy, 4 trophies, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. You just have to enjoy the ride. Days like this or days like yesterday, you don't enjoy as much. And that's fair. No. But there is times where you look and you say, I'm not going to have a go at Spurs because that's the way they want to go. I completely get your point. They needed to win the game because Arsenal are playing Leeds today. They beat Leeds. I think it ended up 2-1, but they should have had a hell of a lot more. At one stage, I think they had 17 shots and Leeds had none. But I agree with you. They should have. But that was probably their way to try win the game. But don't be tight.
My only thing with that, Gav, is 20 minutes to go. You had players going down with head injuries after getting the ball hopped off their head. They were rolling around with cramp. They were time wasting left, right, and centre. If you want to win a game, you don't do that. Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying.
Referees have to be stronger for that carry-on clip, don't they? Because it's becoming too commonplace now.
Yeah, it is. That is that's true. But I'm not saying this digging Spurs out. I'm saying if you want to go and win a game, you don't waste time. You don't take time out of the game.
Yeah, I suppose it's a fair point weird. Because regardless of what your outlook is and the way you're trying to play the game, you're still trying to win it. So you still want the ball in play.
Try to win it,
even if you're not going to have a lot of the ball, you still want the ball to be in play so you can try.
They were managing us. They were managing us really well. They were limiting us to long shots, pot shots, crosses from deep, and you said it yourself. The back three were swallowing those up. We'd ran out of ideas. So you want the ball in play. That's what I don't get. I just find that, and that stems from the manager. That type of mentality is we've come for a draw, take the draw at all costs.
Well, Spurs, I don't know if Spurs outlook, but I don't know if Spurs outlook is right. Okay,
maybe they're just banking on beating Arsenal.
I think they're far behind Arsenal. I think they play Arsenal. Maybe they're banking on we'll go into the last 2 games 1 point behind them. Did they play Arsenal next?
Yeah, Thursday night.
Okay, that'd be a cracking game, by the way. We've said that for a little while. But maybe they look at it and they say to themselves, right, listen, let's go and play Arsenal. Let's beat them. Let's bank on this to beat them. Be 1 point behind, 2 games to go. I don't know who Spurs have in the last 2, but I think they're quite favourable. I know Arsenal have Everton on the last day. I'm not too sure who they have before that. But maybe what?
Oh, they're not in it anymore already.
Who?
Man U.
No, they're not in the league anymore. They got fucked out after yesterday. But maybe they're looking at it like that. Maybe it's the lesser of 2 evils to go and take the draw. I know where people are coming from saying Spurs needed to win that. If Spurs win that,
expectation, Gav? What was their expectation going into that game? Was it?
I think their expectation would have been a point.
Or is a draw the expectation?
Well, I think it would have been.
They're happy with the draw.
I think it would have been maybe make sure you get a point, and if the chance is to win it, you go and win it. And maybe their best way home was the way they played yesterday. So
which they nearly won at the end,
and that's absolutely fine. But the only as you've all said, and I continue to say, that current Spurs side, if anyone is playing them next season, they hand them the ball and go, there you go. Genuinely, and I include Liverpool in that. Liverpool just retreat and go, you have the ball, go ahead. Come on, let's play. And that's probably the only way to drag them out. But look, it is what it is. It's a 1-1 draw. There's loads to talk about, so we move on. Keith, I want to come to you. Because
just so you know, Spurs have Burnley and Norwich. Arsenal have Newcastle and Everton.
Arsenal are away to Newcastle, home to Everton. Is that right?
Yeah, and Spurs are home to Burnley, away to Norwich.
So that's maybe where the plan comes from Spurs, because Spurs, I think, believe maybe if they win the last 3, they'll get in ahead of Arsenal. Arsenal would have to win the last 2 then. You know, away at Newcastle, which I think they'll win, and I think they'll beat Everton because I think Everton will be safe on the last day anyway.
Yeah.
The way things have gone, because of Brendan fucking Rodgers, by the way. But
I called that one a long time ago as well, didn't we?
told you. But Keith, you said something about earlier. You said you think we have a problem. A couple of players need to stand up and prove this. One, name them, because I think there's more than one.
Yeah, there is more than one. Look, I think Mo Salah, I'm a huge fan of Mo Salah. Mo Salah is in a predicament now where he's probably not going to win. He's not going to be the top scorer in the league, I don't think. I think he's going to get caught. I think he's just going through such a slump in front of goal now that, not that a slump in front of goal, he scored against United, he scored against Norwich, he got penalties, but he's looking too predictable at the moment. And I think he's in danger of being one of these, you know. Remember years ago, a player would win Player of the Year because they storm it at the start, the voting gets done, and then they'd nearly fall off a cliff and still win it. Salah's getting into that sort of territory now for me, and that's not to dig him out. He's been absolutely brilliant for us, and it's just the unfortunate timing of this. But I think Salah has really real problems there at the moment. He's hindering. He still occupies players, right? So he'll always occupy players when Salah's on the pitch. The goals have dried up. Kevin Ball says it there. The assist, he's still getting assists. He's still creating, so that keeps him relevant. Jota, I think, is another one that. I think Jota is one that...
Does he feel a bit odd man out at the minute?
I think he does. I think the signing of Diaz has sort of knocked Jota a bit. And I think that's maybe...
And maybe the form of Mane through the middle.
Exactly. And I think he's finding that he's probably, the odd man out, and he's not taking his chances. He's probably forcing things a bit too much. I don't think Trent was excellent again yesterday. In fact, I think he was pretty poor delivery and things like that. I thought the floaty crosses and things like I don't know. I just thought Trent, that whole right side, which has been such a good outlet for us, the right side, Trent, Henderson sort of doing the covering, and Salah. It reminded me, it was one of them games where Henderson spent an awful lot of time on the right wing nearly yesterday against Spurs, because Salah's gone inside, Trent is playing inside as well, and I'm like, I've seen this dance before and I don't really like it. So I think the right side yesterday was pretty off. I thought Robbo was bad yesterday, but that was a bad day. I don't know if he picked up an injury or whatever, but I don't think he was great. But the main issue for me is Salah. Look, I'm not, because we lose. I don't say because we lose. We didn't even fucking lose a game. But because we dropped points, I don't want it to come across like, we were all cheering for Salah last week, blah, blah. I just think... I was looking at the game, and my missus actually said it to me. She goes, he's cutting in every time and you know what he's going to do. Do you know what I mean? It was too predictable. Every good player, and if you're playing, like, we can dig out Spurs, as we said. Antonio Conte, for as long as he's been in coaching, he'll play 3 centre-backs, he'll have wing-backs, and he'll have defensive midfielders all in there. Mo Salah is not getting space, so he has to try and do something different. Cutting into a 3, Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, and Christian Romero, he wasn't getting any space, but he kept doing it, and it wasn't working from now. Look, I'm not one of these naive clowns that Mo Salah needs to be dropped. I just hope Mo Salah can find the form, because I think Klopp is not sacrificing the team, but Salah is the one, bulletproof person maybe in the front at the moment. And I don't think he's really performing the way we expect him to do. And I hope he gets it back. Look, there's big games still to play. The league isn't over yet, you know what I mean? Until it's mathematically over, it's not over. And we just need Salah to get back. If we do, we can do something about the goal difference. If we don't, that's where I worry about the goal difference, because we're not getting the goals. We're not able to batter teams unless Salah is, even if he's not scoring, if he's scoring 1 or 2 in a game, he's stretching them and he's causing them problems, and that frees up other players. At the moment, it's not freeing up anybody.
Emma, looking at a kind of a bigger picture here, like, there is 3 league games to go, there's a Champions League final to go, an FA Cup final to go. We just have to take each game as it comes. I know that's a really obvious thing to say, but should there be a plan in place here? Like, I think Jota feels a bit odd man out, and what I mean by that is Mane can play off the left or down the centre. Diaz seems to be pinned to the left, which is fine. Jota can play maybe left and centre, so they're all kind of vying in that little spot. For me, not being there has probably made it an easier decision to play Mane. So Jota, for me, I don't like Jota down left or right. I like him through the middle. I like him through the middle, especially against teams that are pinned back a little bit like Spurs, where if you are going to put a ball in the box, whip it in and he'll get his head, his hand, his fucking arse, whatever on it. And like, they'll all go through a bit of a dip in form. You know what I mean? That's fine. Jota probably not enough minutes, maybe. Salah definitely a drop off, but still, like Keith says, he keeps defenders on their toes. But overall, do we have to kind of look at this and think to ourselves, how do we play Mo Salah or not play him back into form? Because regardless of 3 league games when we're behind, there's 2 cup finals coming up, one in a week's time, and a huge one in 2 weeks' time, or 3 weeks' time, whatever it is. Do we have to play him into form, Emmett? Because he's definitely starting both.
I think he's tried to play him into form, and it's not worked. And what's happened is, and what Keith was saying there is, I think he's forcing it, and he's becoming a little bit too predictable. And he's trying to play himself back into form. So I think maybe a breakaway, definitely maybe Tuesday, I'd say. Maybe let him sit out on Tuesday and get a bit of a rest. Like we all know he's the one person that will go to Klopp and tell him that he wants to play. He just wants to play all players should want to play every game. But I think at this stage now, Klopp should maybe take him out, give him a bit of a break. Hang on, sorry, 2 seconds. Being disturbed here, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, he should take him out and give him a bit of a break. He is just becoming a little bit too predictable. Every time he cut inside, it reminded me of Arjen Robben. Do you know what I mean? And it just became very predictable and very easy to, like everybody was saying, these blocks like not Ben Davies. It was Ben Davies. Ben Davies, yeah. I'm thinking of the fellow that we signed from Preston. But it was a fantastic blocks, but they're easy to make when you know exactly what he's going to do. So I think, it's time on the sidelines. Would I even have him on the bench? I don't know. I'd just give him a game off. Just a bit of a break. And that might be, like we said, Jota. I think Jota as well, Salah and Jota out of the front 5. It was really only been 4 playing recently. They have kind of gone off the boil. So maybe give Jota a run on Tuesday. Where do you play him? I know I probably prefer him through the middle as well. But then that means taking Mane out of his spot. So it is that kind of, like, we do have a wealth of riches up there, but they're all kind of wanting to play in the same position. So
Kev,
I don't know. And Diaz didn't exactly look comfortable out on the right. I think he started out on the right against Newcastle, didn't he? And didn't really come back into the game until he was back in. Can I just say, actually, on Diaz, we talked about earlier on, his chance in the first half. He started on the left, played a 1-2 with Mane, had a shot, and continued his run out and tackled their left back and got the ball back. That was like his Andy Robbo moment. Remember Andy Robertson just kept running after City. Now, everybody loves Diaz, but they love him even more now. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's been brilliant since he came in. And, you know, while he's being brilliant, I don't know if it's throwing noses out of joint, but I think it's kind of... Yeah. I think Mane's had to be moved to accommodate Diaz at times. And because of that, I think Jota had to be moved to accommodate Mane. Kev, you can talk about Salah if you want and what you think you should do, but I think Jota should start away at Villa, and I think he should start through the middle. And
I'd change shape.
What?
I'd change shape. Simple as that.
I'd put Jota up there. I'd put Mane back on the left, and I'd probably put Diaz down right. And I'd just say to them, go back into positions you're comfortable in. Even Mane down the right, it doesn't matter. But I think I think Salah needs a rest. I think that's a definite. He's played so much fucking football. He's gone away with the AFCON. And no matter how much you want to insist that you want to play, and no matter how fit you think you are, mentally it can come and hurt you at times. And I think if it was me, I would not play Salah, start Salah on Tuesday night. And this isn't me saying, Salah shouldn't play. No. What I'm saying is, I would not start Salah on Tuesday night, and I would start Jota through the middle. And I think that would do both of them, a world of good. Because while I think Salah hasn't been too bad. I just think in front of goal, I think he just needs... It just looks to me like he's getting a little bit predictable, and that's probably just down to him trying the same thing all the time just to get a goal.
He's been doing the same thing for the last 5 years. He's not done anything different. He's done. This is what he's done every game ever since he joined the club. You know, it's not new. I would change shape. I would go with 4-4-2 from the start. Play Thiago and Fabinho in the middle of the park. Take Henderson out of it. Put Jota in instead of Henderson. Play 2 up top and play two wingers to stay wide. And just go what we did when we went 1 down, and just carry that on. It's not new. It's not alien to them. They've obviously worked on this for a good while because we've used that shape a couple of times this season. And maybe it's a case that Origi comes in to be the one that stays in the middle with someone else playing around him. But I think the way we're playing the fourth, I watched Henderson in the first half, and Keith, you were saying that he stuck out wide right. There was an awful lot of that game where he took up a position where he was almost a second striker, and he was dropping off like a second striker would. That's not his game, and it's almost like we were too aggressive and wanted to force something to happen, and it didn't. I'd have no problem trying 4-4-2, and just see how it goes. Villa aren't great at that. 4-2-4, whatever way you want to call it.
Villa will play 5-3-2. That's the way they've gone now. He's gone to 5-3-2, I think, Gerard, which is his favourite sort of way of going, Gerard. I think he's done the same at Rangers. Derek Rooms says we won 12 and drawn 2 of our last 14 league games. He's giving out. No, I'm not giving out about Salah and what he is or what he does. I'm just saying, for me, I think he's being decent in games. I think he has been. Yeah. I think his overall game has been good. I just think maybe that last 5% in him, where it comes to scoring goals, maybe it's just a bit off. And sometimes he just needs, listen, Mo, you're going to do 30 minutes against Villa, or you're going to do 60 and come off, or just something to where he knows kind of focuses him a bit. And I'm not saying he's not focused. Like, people are saying, I think Shawnee said there, he's been really good. He feels it's a bit knee jerk. I don't think I'm being knee jerk. I don't think any of the lads here are being knee jerk.
It's not about that.
I think what it's about is that I'm looking at a player who's brilliant, and I hope he signs a deal and all that. So don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is, do we have to take a hit in a game somewhere without Salah to give him a bit of a rest and just a bit of time to, I don't know, just a bit of time to kind of go, right, the pressure's not all on me, and he'd be back against Chelsea at the weekend. And you never know, he kicks on then, he does the last 2 league games, he does Chelsea, and then we're into a Champions League final and you go, Salah is buzzing again, he gets a goal. The other argument is, you leave him there against the Villa side that you think he can get at, he'll get a couple of goals, and great. And he's back, his overall game has been good anyway, and with his overall game being good anyway, he's added a couple of goals. Like, it's...
The thing is, we have options.
You can drop. Yeah, but you can drop. You can take a player out of a team for one game without it being, oh, look, we're all fucking throwing our toys out of the pram. We're just looking at his goal scoring record in the last while, and we're saying to ourselves, he usually gets more goals than that. Is it an option? That's all we're asking. Is it an option to say, right, we'll take Salah out for a game or two? That's all we're asking. Go on, Kev.
Yeah, and to be fair, I'd still play it, but I would play him as a right winger. And if you're playing with Jota and Sadio through the middle with Diaz on the other side, you're still going to control games. Trent and Robbo don't have to be the full. They're not the fullbacks who overlap anyway. They tuck inside. Fabinho and Thiago give you control. I just think that Jota or Sadio can do that role through the middle, and that in itself takes pressure off Mo to have to try to force goals, because it looks like sometimes he's forcing things when they're not there. And that's not a slight on him. It's when it's not working for you, sometimes you just need one to go in off your backside to get you back on a run again. He's no different to any other striker in that regard. They all go through barren spells, and when they do, it's usually something stupid that gets them back on the scoring run again. And what people were saying in the chat is spot on. He occupies players. He does occupy players, and that should free up space for the others. So if you're freeing up space for 2 centre forwards and Diaz, that's better for us again.
Yeah,
I just think it's a way for us to move forward.
If you in the chat have said he doesn't start against Newcastle, doesn't play against Newcastle, and Mane has more minutes. Even if you talk about Mane, Do we leave Diaz where he is? Do we leave Salah where he is and take Mane out and put Jota in? All I'm talking about here is just rotating it a little bit more and making and it will seem like a big decision. It will seem like a big decision in a big game. Like Villa is a huge game now, but it will seem like. But that's what the squad is for, and you know, I think they've all been really good this season. I think Jota, as I said, feels a bit odd man out. That's just at the moment, but you never know. A goal for him and bang, he goes on a run again. And we're talking in 4 or 5 games time, he's after getting fucking 5 or 6 goals, and we're all rejoicing. You know, that sort of way. Maybe we're overreacting. Maybe go the exact same 3 on Tuesday night. But for me, it's just something where I don't know if he just gets. I'm not saying the mix is wrong. Spurs are very good. We're not great against Villarreal, but we come out and we win that game.
Wouldn't surprise me to see Bobby being involved. If he's back training and he's had 3 or 4 sessions, then maybe he's involved.
Yeah. Ant says the same. If Bobby's full training tomorrow, he could be in Mauricio. Yeah. And Salah will play both finals, and I think Diaz will play both finals. And I think Mane will play both finals. I don't think Jota will start either of them. But I'm just saying, on a bigger picture thing, just to have Jota on a bit better form and give one of them a rest with those finals coming up, maybe it's an option. But look,
I think we're having this conversation even if we won last night. This isn't a conversation because of a draw or anything like that. You're right, yeah. Literally, we won't be having this conversation. We have this conversation nearly every time we speak about the next game. Do you know what I mean? So it's not. This isn't off the back of drawing 1-1 with Spurs. This is how do we get the 2 boys back into a bit of form. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
Salah has been playing really well. Salah's playing really well.
In terms of goals,
and that's the problem. Like, he's playing really well in the games. Like, he's not getting the goals. But the problem we have is that everything else is working fine. The assists are there. The problem is he's just looking too predictable for me. Do you know what I mean? So it's just maybe that changed things up a bit. But look, we've got to where we are. These boys have got us to where we are. Yeah. I just hope that they can get back in. As Gav said, like Jota is a player that his all-round play is never great. Do you know what I mean? When you look at his play, but he's just a dead-eye finisher. And I think if he can get in and get 2 goals against Villa, well, that sets him up. If Mo can get a goal,
but it doesn't set him up in a way, Keith, where you're saying, we started the weekend. I'm saying,
no.
What I'm saying is he doesn't start against Chelsea, but he's coming on with 25 to go off the back of 2 goals against Villa during the week, and he's flying. You know,
exactly.
And no matter how good a player you are, you need a goal. Forwards need goals. No matter how good their all-round game is, forwards need goals. And you know, don't get me wrong, I'd love to go out against if they played Jota, Diaz, Salah on Tuesday night, and we won 5-0, and Diaz gets 1, Jota gets 2, and Salah gets 2. You're like, brilliant! It's absolutely worked. It's worked in one game. We've sorted it in one game. Everyone's back scoring goals, and it's brilliantly timed. But look, we'll move on. Jurgen Klopp's comments after the game has caused some, it's caused some issues, I would say, on social media. But then again, when you're looking at social media for a reaction, it's probably not the best place to look. But Jurgen Klopp after the game basically says that Spurs were world class at what they done yesterday. Spurs were world class at the way they approached it. It's not how he likes to play football. That's his own personal feeling on it, and he doesn't feel he'd be able to coach a team to play that way. I think that's an absolutely fine comment to make. I think if he'd have won the game, he probably would have said something similar. But Keith, it's being taken by fans of other clubs as, he's given out. He's annoyed. He's a bad loser. He's this, that, and the other. But he's just been asked a question and answered. Yeah. That's it.
I'd go further, Gav, and it's not just fans of other clubs. It's reporters, it's journalists online that are taking it and saying, he's a sore loser, he's this and he's that. And it's ridiculous. It's typical of what happens with Klopp. Everything he says gets magnified and gets twisted around. I mean, the classic one was the AFCON thing that got absolutely taken and misconstrued. It was ridiculous. It was actually embarrassing how they went on with that. That journalist didn't understand the sarcasm of what he was saying. I understand different cultures and all that sort of thing. But this one, like, he doesn't think, and we're going to talk about another fella in a minute who talks absolute utter scutter about these things and doesn't get the attraction that Klopp gets. Klopp was asked a question. He answered it in a way, as you've said there, he answered it in a way of, look, this isn't for me, but teams do it. Atletico Madrid are one of the best teams in Europe, and they do this style as well. You just have to live, but it's not for me. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure it's not for you three either. You know what I mean? You watch football. That's why Liverpool against Man City is always the best game of the year, because it's the two best teams, but they don't go in to cancel each other out in the sense that they don't go negative. Do you know what I mean? They just go in and it's a ding dong. It's a 2-2 draw, or one team could batter the other, and that's the way they approach the game, because they're two quality teams going at it. You have a team like Spurs, you have Harry Kane, Son, Kulusevski, you've got Bentancur in there, you've got Romero, and they're talking about these players as being, oh, great signings, this and that. You expect them to probably play a bit better, but that's we're not the police other teams how they play. And Jurgen Klopp isn't trying to police other teams on how they play either. He's just saying, look, this is how I play. That's how they play. I'm not into it. But what happens is you've got the media now and the fans, rival fans are just, we know what it's like, you know what I mean, what they're like. But what annoys me is when it's journalists and all that coming up with it, and they're saying, this is sore loser Klopp. Oh, he didn't have a problem when Man City played Spurs and they done that. He didn't have a dig at Spurs. Do you know what I mean? He just said it's not the way I like to play.
Well, Neil Francis says here, Klopp has no right to criticise Spurs' tactics. It's up to Klopp to counter their game plan and beat them, but he failed, and as he's done in the past, acted like a prick. But if Spurs, if Jurgen Klopp was acting like a prick yesterday, he would have said.
But he didn't.
He would have turned around and went, yeah, Spurs are a disgrace. They turned up, they played cowards football, the game that they possibly have to win, and they spent most of the time in their own box. And look at the hitters on the break. With all these supposed
faking injuries.
With all these supposed world-class players that they have and they won't attack. Right? They're ringing off Son, Kane, Kulusevski. Am I saying that right, Kulusevski? I always feel like I get that wrong. They have all these players. They have midfielders like Bentancur and Højbjerg that can control a game of football and go forward, and they didn't. Klopp could have easily said that. Klopp does not say that. Klopp is asked about Spurs' tactics yesterday, and his simple reaction was they were world class at what they done. He names the players, says they were world class at what they done. It's not for him. He doesn't feel he could coach a team to play that way. That's it. He doesn't say anything else. It's the same way if Klopp was, or Antonio Conte, right, was beaten by Liverpool earlier on the season, and he turns around, he said, what do you make of Liverpool? They were flying out of blocks, they were fucking 7-8 men forward. I just couldn't coach a team like that because my nerves would be gone. I'd need to have 4 or 5 behind the ball. It's exactly the same as that. It's not, you see, this is the thing. If Klopp comes out and gives a very vanilla answer to things, people go, oh, look at Klopp. Look, and I'm not even, actually, I take that back. If anyone comes out and gives a very vanilla answer to anything, they turn around and go, oh, look at him, the media training kicking in, afraid to open his mouth, afraid to commit on anything, he's completely rattled, he's this, that, and the other, and fucking all this sort of shit. But then he just comes out and says, brilliant at what he done, not my cup of tea. What can you do?
Is Neil a Spurs fan?
I don't know if Neil's a Spurs fan, he'd probably tell us. But
let us know.
But the thing is, right, no matter what he says, they're going to turn it in some way. And no matter what anyone says, by the way, I'm just taking Klopp as an instance here because that's what's come out. But if Conte says something like that, or Mourinho in the past, or Arteta, Guardiola, whatever it might be, they're asked for their opinion. They give it. They credit the team they've played against. They say it's not their cup of tea, and they move on. That's all right. Because if it was everyone's cup of tea, there'd be no point fucking watching. Do you know the sort of way? P. McN says, pointless discussion, move on. Well, it's not really a pointless discussion because it's one of the biggest talking points that came out of the game yesterday. And it's one of those things where, oh, Klopp is this and Klopp is that. He's just answered the question.
Another one. Another case of Klopp being vilified for a comment that has absolutely nothing in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't say that. He doesn't come across like a prick, as Neil says. I don't think he's disrespectful to Spurs, as we've sort of said there. I think Stefan Mack had in the chat there, soon I said, show me a good loser, not show you a loser. Like, you go at a manager when he's after dropping points in a title race that you can't afford to drop points in, and you're asking these questions, you're going to get the reaction. They're just looking for that reaction. We've seen it before with Klopp, Gav. We've seen Des Kelly going at him when they know prodding and knowing that they'll get the reaction. I don't think he done that. I don't think he gave anything bad there. He wasn't disrespectful.
Well, Laszlo says, come on, Gav, there was a stream of consciousness. Klopp can absolutely sore loser on his day. It doesn't bother me. But there's no problem being a bad loser. But listen, I've seen Klopp being a bad loser, right? And when I seen him being a bad loser, I say he hasn't reacted well to that. We've all seen it, and it's undeniable. That yesterday isn't about being a bad loser. That's being asked a question and answering it. If he'd be better, so what are we saying here that he'd be better off coming out and going, yeah, Spurs played really well today. We found it hard to break down. Next question. Because then it'll be, oh, look, Klopp, he won't answer questions. He won't answer questions. He's rattled. They really got to him there. Look at him. And then, if he's he's actually out and out a bad loser, people aren't happy with that either. So by answering a question, they want to accuse you of being a bad loser. But if you actually be a bad loser, they're not happy for you being there either. Sorry, I want to come back because Neil, I think Neil was the lad's name, wasn't it?
Neil.
He says, I meant it was a really bad idea to criticise them. We need to keep going, and I think Mo needs a rest. I've been a Red Born about for 52 years. That's a fantastic picture of you if you're 52 years of age. I would just say that.
It's like a Tinder job, isn't it, when you're thrown in? You get a good picture of yourself up there. Yeah. High school graduation
one thing I'd say, right, when it comes to Klopp, you got to understand where he's coming from. He was raised, born and grew up and was molded in football in a Germany that the sweeper was the norm.
Yeah.
You had Germans playing 4-4-1, 4-4-1-1 with a sweeper. It was negative, dull, boring football for a long time in Germany. And he's moved away from that. And he was one of the innovators in German football that created this pressing, high-intensity, aggressive football. So, and the success that was bred in Germany on the back of the World Cup that they hosted, coupled with the style of football that was brought in at the time and the investment that came into German football, Klopp was the right place at the right time, and he was an innovator in that. So for him to look at how Conte manages and coaches is alien. How he looks at Atletico Madrid and how they fess up to big, important games is alien to him. So it's only natural for him to come out and answer a question in that way. It's not something that he could do. He's not capable of doing it. I think you could count on one hand the amount of times late in games where he's brought on a third centre-back to shore up a game. He just rarely, if ever, I can remember him doing it with Matip a few times.
Yeah.
Or with Joe Gomez a few times to go to a back five.
And it makes me as
maybe
nervous
in the last
as anything, even as the defender come on, my arse goes.
But that's because it's not a style. It's not a style. So Kev is right. Yeah, it's not a style, so he doesn't do it. But then you've got a situation where you've got it's not even, I don't think, the defensive tactics. We touched on it earlier. It's this time wasting now that's becoming the norm. It's the going down keepers. We saw it with Everton, Pickford acting the maggot and taking so long over catches and dropping to the ground. Kev, I think it was, touched on earlier about Højbjerg heading the ball and going down with a concussion and jumping back up and heading the next ball that comes in. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's the sort of thing that's frustrating Klopp. But as we said, the media are the ones, these are the interviewing that poking. And every time they poke them on something, the 5 subs, the 12:30 kickoffs, when they've sat back and looked at it, they've all agreed with them. Do you know what I mean? And if you ask anyone, take club hats off or take the emotion out of dropping the points out, nobody likes looking at that shit on the stick. Nobody likes looking at that defensive crap. Do you know what I mean? You can say it's effective and you can say it works. It's anti-football, and it's called anti-football for a reason. It's negative, it's dour, it's shy. But teams play it, you have to have a way to break through it. We have got a way to break through it, but I just felt our ways to break through it weren't really on it yesterday. I thought, as I said, the fullbacks I don't think were great yesterday, and
he's not the only person in the last 24 hours to make the same comment, but he's the only one that everybody is latching onto. Several pundits have said the same thing about Spurs' performance, but it's Klopp gets you clicks. So
exactly,
nothing gets you clicks like a Liverpool story, mate.
He could come out and say
the transfer window.
He could come out and say the decade of the rosary, and they'd still somehow turn it around into something bad.
But you see, that's the thing. Like, if they'd be better off not asking them any questions. And or I'm not going to go as far as saying he shouldn't answer them, because if you don't answer them, then there's another angle thrown at you. And that's the world we live in. There's nothing you can do about it.
You got to think as well. There was a queue of people waiting for us to drop something or to slip up. There was a queue of rival fans, reporters from rival clubs, waiting for us to do something. And when we drop points, there they are with their bells and whistles on, all over social media, la-di-da. I even see Man United fans after their result yesterday chirping in about us not going for a quad. And like, in all fairness, lads, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, like, I don't know if you want to say it on this, but the whole idea, like, of I've seen it pop, like you were saying, stuff popped up yesterday that I seen, like, City have saved football again, and I kind of got me thinking, and I was like, okay, let's look at this. How are they saving football? And I think there's a couple of things to this. I think teams that are stay funded feel like City are saving football because how dare Liverpool, as a huge football club, by the way, I'm not knocking Liverpool how big they are, as a huge football club and self-sustainable by design, let's have it on record. How can they do all this? Like, it's all about oil money and oligarch money and listen, I include some Liverpool fans in this. They want FSG out and they want oligarch money or they want oil money because they feel that's the only way you can ever compete. So when teams are up there to have this sort of state funding, they're looking and saying, well, Liverpool shouldn't be there. So you need City to win, don't you, to justify the fact that it's state owned, it's huge money like that. The other thing is that Liverpool are Liverpool, and they're the biggest club in the world, in my opinion, right? And everyone, all this, like, people like Liverpool and the media like Liverpool, and cop on. They don't. Yeah. Trust me, they don't. And then the third thing, and the biggest thing I think in all of it is, I think Man City winning the league title against Liverpool masks the failings of other clubs. Masks the failings of clubs that are self-sufficient and, are run in a very similar way to the way we are. And they get their money in a very similar way to the way we do. And have a similar output in money and, exposure and stuff like that we do. And by City winning that league, they're able to turn around and go, well, we're shy, but look what we're up against. Whereas if Liverpool win it, it's we're shy, and they're doing much the same as what we're doing, but they're winning it. And I think it's just a way to mask and justify some clubs' failings and some clubs' belief as to where they are. But look, I think the saving football thing is fucking hilarious.
It's ridiculous.
But you can't do anything about it. It's the day and age we live in. But trust me, Liverpool are probably saving the Premier League at the minute. Yeah. Winning the league or not, they're saving the Premier League at the minute, because you take Liverpool out of this league and I swear to God, you're not watching it. You're just not watching it.
Every one of them, Gav, will criticise France because PSG get the league every year, or they didn't get it last year, or Lille got it, or whatever, but they'll criticise the Bundesliga because Bayern are winning every league. They'll criticise Serie A when Juventus are winning 7 leagues in a row. They'll criticise La Liga when it's a 2-horse race, and that's all they'll do. They'll criticise. You're dead right. If Liverpool didn't break that City monopoly, you're looking at City buying their way to title after title after title. Liverpool, the only ones that could put it up to them.
They'd be going for £500.
And Liverpool, they win the one in the middle, which I'm seeing a lot of shite as well about, they've only won one title in 30 years. Do me a favour. Do you know what I mean? Like, this Liverpool team are unbelievable. The fact that they've got in there and won that title. But in the other years, they've got 90, plus 90 points. Do you know what I mean? We're going to do, hopefully, plus 90 this year as well. It's absolutely it's disgraceful how they try to downplay Liverpool's achievements. Do you know what I mean? And what I find, and look, this is probably ridiculous, this is a societal problem in the UK, right? Foreign fans don't understand it, right? They jump on all the shit, right? But Liverpool as a city, it's why they say they're Scouse, not English. They don't get treated the same by people outside Liverpool. They don't get treated the same by their government outside Liverpool. They don't get... They're allowed. People are allowed to say what they want about them without any comeback or any sort of being pulled up. Right? It happens all the time. It's society over there. There's been good stuff coming out about fans of Manchester United. It was actually what I saw, and they're saying don't be saying Hillsborough stuff, because you saying Hillsborough stuff is just backing up a government that's looking to dance on the working class. People don't see that. It's not racism, whatever way you describe it, but the feeling towards Liverpool from the UK is just absolutely negative. They look for every little bit that they can to get at Liverpool, and it comes into football. It comes into football and reasons as well. Like Gav, you said this 100 times. All these like pundits and all that are on the telly, you know, the Matt Letizier's and all that. He spent his life growing up watching Liverpool dominating. So he's an angry bitter man when it comes to Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so many of them that have seen it like that are older than us that have gone through Liverpool in the 70s, in the 80s, and they don't, you know, they don't want to see Liverpool doing well as a football team, but they don't like Liverpool as a city, and that'll never change. Liverpool are very socialist, they're very outspoken as being socialists, and that goes against the establishment, it goes against the government. Sorry for getting all political on it, but that's what I think it all comes down to. I think there's a huge problem with society in the UK that it's easy to dig at Liverpool. Nobody pulls up Pep Guardiola for the show he comes out with.
Oh, I'll do it in a second. You don't worry about that.
Oh, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Yeah,
don't worry about that. But the thing is,
we're going to do it. It's down to us to do it. It's down to us to do it.
But there's actually,
and who are we?
Just 4 fucking idiots on a podcast. Drinking milk. But the thing is, right? They probably are saving football in a certain way because they're stopping the actual big side winning the league title. They're stopping the biggest, most powerful team in the league, probably alongside Manchester United, in winning the league. And that's where the justification comes of saving football. Because why? Because the biggest team with the biggest fan base and the biggest noise and the biggest, they're everywhere. It's saving us from that. And that's where the justification comes from. But everything else has to be forgotten, sort of way. And City, more than likely, will go on and win the league title this season. That's fine. You get beaten on the pitch, that's absolutely fine. But don't tell me for a second that Manchester City are saving football, because you have to look at where Man City have come from, how they've got there, and they're not saving football, they're saving people from themselves. That's what they're saving people from, and the excuses that come out. Because if you ask anybody out there that of any club that have aspirations to, if they think they could win a Premier League title, what would their first team be? Well, look what City have. They've endless resources. We can't compete. It's a fallback. It's an insurance policy. But if Liverpool win it and beat City to it, where's the insurance policy gone? It's not. Yeah. Because fans will quite rightfully, like Arsenal fans, will quite rightly be able to turn and go, hold on, we've as much money as them. We spend as much money as them. We have a bigger stadium than them. We're in London. We're a bigger attraction to them. And they're winning leagues. And we're not. And they're winning them against them, who's just literally throwing money after money after money at it. And they're beating them. So it's an insurance policy that's there. So to a point, I actually agree that they are saving football. But they're only saving it from a huge team winning the league title. After that, it's all about protecting your own interests, in my opinion.
Manchester United fans support Manchester City to stop Liverpool having the success.
Well,
because
you see,
they're the biggest victims of the papering over the cracks.
But part of that is the fact that 19 versus 20 league titles.
Yeah.
And
look, in fairness, none of us look at City as rivals. Man United are rivals. Everton are rivals to an extent. Man City are just there. They're a mid-table club who've got a cash injection and great sponsorship deals, fuck knows how. And are under a 3-year investigation by the Premier League.
Fucking 10 years.
And they win another title, so big whoop. You know what I mean? Nobody cares. It's a small story. They were getting 35,000 at Main Road, but that's their fan base. That's it.
Well, I didn't watch the game today, but I would hazard a guess that there wasn't a full stadium at the.
They announced it was sold out.
Of course they did. They announced it was sold out.
Not sold out. Shawnee was buying fucking 6 tickets together in any part of the ground you wanted last week.
With Champions League game.
So.
I'm out to Brighton midweek.
Brighton. But lads.
But that's the thing. They win a title, and it's not a big story. Liverpool win a title, and it is global news. All right?
But it gets downplayed like Leicester as well. They say it's a Leicester.
You're starting to see now comments like they've only won one Premier League title and all that. It's like, hang on, I hate to break this to the bubble to the kids. Football wasn't invented in 1992.
Well, that brings me on though, Kev. But Kev, that brings me on to Pep Guardiola today. And listen, I kind of liked what he said. And I'm not saying liking what he said because of the words he used. It's the fact that he said it. He's hurting, and I'm fucking delighted, right? Because I'm starting to really fucking get annoyed by this fella. Because You know, you had people during the week saying, "Oh, poor Pep, look at him," and "Oh, poor Pep, me bollocks," right? But Pep Guardiola today, for me, showed he was hurting. I think he made it so clear he was hurting, even while he's trying to give credit to his players. You know, in fairness, they get knocked out in the European Cup semi-final during the week. They come back and win a league game, win it well. You can't put credit on them for it because it's hard to come back. It's hard to bounce back. It would have been a big disappointment during the week. But even when he's trying to give them credit, he has to bring Liverpool into it. Why is he talking about Liverpool? Why is he talking about Liverpool? So his words to Mars was, everyone in the media supports Liverpool. They have a brilliant European record, but not in the Premier League, 1 in 30 years. Now, first of all, it's very selective in what you're doing, because if he wants to talk about the last 30 years, Liverpool have 2 European Cups in the last 30 years against 1 league title. So how can you say one's not successful, one's a brilliant history? So what he's done is he's taken the whole of Liverpool history when it comes to European Cups to beef of his own argument, right? Because he's failed at Manchester City. But he's taken the last 30 years, right? So what he should have really said was, everyone loves Liverpool because they've won 18 league titles, or 19 league titles, and 6 European Cups. But he doesn't. What he does is he's being selective, and by being selective, he shows his hand. And what he does is he shows his hand and says, these are all going on about Liverpool, and I'm out of this again, and I'm not centre of attention, and I have failed again at Manchester City, and I haven't given them the trophy that they want. Because let's be honest, Kev, Man City don't give a fuck about league titles, right? At the top of Manchester City, they don't give a fuck about. If you told Manchester City they weren't going to win a league title for 10 years, but they win 3 European Cups in that time, they take it. They don't care. The sole goal at that club is to win the European Cup, and they failed. And what he does today shows, for me, it's hurting. He's selective in where he chooses his history. And he talks about Liverpool and he's no need to. What do you think, Kev? Because we're going to finish up on this, and then we'll have a little bit before we go.
Ultimately, he's failed at Bayern by that metric. That he won a treble, he won everything there was to win, bar the European Cup. Mm-hmm. He's done the same at Man City. He's won everything there, bar the European Cup. Mm-hmm. And there's ways to lose games. And the way they lost Wednesday night was horrific. And for once, I don't blame him. They had enough chances to win, to wrap that semi-final up in the first leg. They had enough chances in Madrid to win it. Now, whether it's the players that fell apart mentally or Madrid just got a second wind and just kept going, and whatever Carlos beefed into him, Pep he just didn't get over the line again. Now, ultimately, he's going to be judged on his success in Europe. It's always going to be the stick to beat him with. And every year that goes by is another year where he ultimately fails. And you're going to have to start asking the question, or the owners at Man City are going to start looking at it and say, well, look, yeah, he churns out league titles, that's fine. He gets us to Wembley, that's good. But he doesn't get us over the line in the one we want. They want to be the biggest. They want to be the biggest in the world. They want to be the best in the world. And they're neither. And they're ultimately going to turn around and say, well, are we going to give him another 300 million and let him try again? Or are they going to look at saying, maybe we'll just do with a change? Because they are ruthless. They've sacked managers who've won league titles before. People talk about Roman Abramovich when he was ruthless at Chelsea. These owners at Man City before Guardiola were as ruthless as they come. They've given him free rein at that club to do what he wants, to mould the squad that he wants. He's said in previous interviews that he couldn't do what Klopp does. He's openly said it. He couldn't do it. He couldn't develop players to play in a system the way Klopp has. He needs the best available players to play the way he wants to play. He's on record as saying that. How long are City going to tolerate failure in Europe, which is the one that they want? That is the only reason that they're at the club, is to get global recognition. That's the whole point of sports watching. It's not good enough to be the Premier League champions. You have to be the champions of Europe. You have to go to Club World Cups. You have to be the first name when people talk about football. You have to be the first name that people think about when that happens. At the moment, it's Real Madrid, it's Barcelona, it's Liverpool, it's Manchester United, Bayern Munich. They are the 5 biggest clubs in world football, bar none, and have been because of what they've done in Europe, not because of what they've done domestically. It's like people will look at Ajax with a European heritage globally and realize that, yeah, Johan Cruyff, Ajax have a heritage. Manchester City doesn't. And as long as they don't have European success, they never will have heritage.
They won the
And
Cup
that's what
Winners'
they
Cup
need.
50 years ago.
Reece McCardle says Jose didn't win the UEFA Champions League with Chelsea, but nobody said he failed. Can anyone explain that since Di Matteo won it? Well, I think Di Matteo won it well after Mourinho was gone.
Yeah.
Who gets sacked and Di Matteo takes them on and wins it?
Rafa, was it?
No,
Avram Grant, was it?
no, 2012 it was. I'm trying to think now. It just came into my head. But Mourinho has them.
AVB, was it? Villas Boas? No, I don't know. God, they've had so many fucking managers. God knows who it was.
Can't remember who it was. But anyway,
Someone will tell us in the chat.
someone
anyway.
will tell us because no, Mourinho was there 2004 to 2007, I think, and leaves and comes back in 2013, doesn't he? And goes till 15 or 16, then he's gone. But anyway,
Look at Jose's reaction to get into the final of the conference thing. He wants to win that because he
Yeah.
knows European
but
trophies.
just on
European
Reece's thing,
trophies are bread and butter, not league titles.
but just what Reece said, when Jose Mourinho comes into Chelsea, they haven't won a title in I don't know how many years. He comes in and his goal is to put Chelsea on the top of the English game.
Yeah.
Right? That was his first thing, put them at the top of the English game. And he done that with probably the second best Chelsea team you've seen. I think Ancelotti's team is brilliant.
Yeah.
When Pep comes in, Mancini and Pochettino, wasn't that the same?
Pellegrini.
Pellegrini.
Pellegrini, sorry. Pochettino, fuck's sake. I always have a bit of time for Pochettino in my mind. I don't know
you
why.
do like
I do. I love
Yeah.
Poch. I do love
You
him. I
got
think-
booed off again tonight.
I don't care.
After another draw.
I'd have him in the running for next Liverpool manager. There you go. But Pellegrini and Mancini had already won league titles at Man City. So being at the top of the English game was there. They've done that. They're back in the top echelons of the English game. When Pep comes in, they literally lined the job up for him for a year. They signed players for him a year out, and he comes in. And that's why he's failed at Manchester City. League titles, FA Cups, League Cups, absolutely amazing. But I think at the end of the day, I think they want that European Cup. And I think if City's owners are telling him he doesn't have to win the European Cup, they're lying to him. And I think if Pep Guardiola thinks that everything is grand and the whole lot, and I don't think because I think despite as much as you can throw him, Pep is a bit of a perfectionist and he has got a lot of drive in him as to what he wants to do. And I think the fact that he hasn't won that will eat at him. And I think it just showed today with those comments.
Yeah. He's like Bladen there.
Villas-Boas got sacked in March 2012.
Yeah, I
Didn't
know
he?
it was Villas-Boas, yeah,
You
I
didn't
know
know it was because you said Villas-Boas.
I said it.
I
said it, Villas-Boas. You didn't even remember Villas-Boas.
Yeah,
You were going for all the big tours.
You
I think
said.
I threw it.
Hold on,
Years
you
out
said
there.
Villas-Boas, was it?
I said Rafa first as well.
You did. You said Rafa.
first.
You know what I mean? You only
I've heard
started
all the
shouting
base.
Glenn Hoddle.
The thing with Pep, he's like Christian Bale in The Machinist. He looks like he hasn't slept in weeks, and he's looking at pictures in his house of Liverpool and Klopp and all that, and it's just he's losing it because he doesn't need to bring that up. I found that very disrespectful what Pep said today about Liverpool with that one title in 30 years, right? I think that's much worse than what Klopp said about Spurs and Conte, but nothing will be said about it. There'll be nothing made about Pep and his bullshit stuff that he's saying about Liverpool, but it'll be a story about Klopp being disrespectful to Spurs. Do you know what I mean?
Probably
And I just think
praised
the
for it,
double
if anything.
standards. Yeah.
Pep will probably be praised with it by other club supporters.
I want to ask this before we go. It hasn't been the best weekend results wise. Shit happens. There's an FA Cup final, there's a European Cup final to come, there's 3 league games to come. Don't get downbeat. This is an incredible football side. I tweeted yesterday. Not for a second should we should we criticise this team. I think this team should be lauded, regardless of what happens in the next 5 games, and I mean that, because they've been absolutely brilliant for just brilliant this season, and I'm confident that we'll add 1 or 2 more trophies to what we're doing. I hope we add 3. But Emma, I'll come to you. League, FA Cup, European Cup. Where are you standing on them now? Because we always do this every week just to see where people are. Not to call you out and have you clipped, just to see exactly where you are.
Well, we're definitely winning the FA Cup and the European Cup, Champions League. League is a little bit too tough, but I still think there's a twist. Wolves away and West Ham away are tough games, and both of them are still scrapping for a place in Europe. Yeah. So you never know. Stranger things have happened. A lot more confident on the Champions League and the FA Cup. The thing about, I was actually surprised myself yesterday that I wasn't more disappointed. I had to start questioning myself. I set myself in a corner and questioned myself. Why aren't you more disappointed? But the thing is so you had 08, 09, and then you had 13, 14, and they kind of nearly felt like a one-off. And it was like, this is going to be our one chance now. This is our chance, and we need to take. And when we didn't take it, I was devastated. I know that if we don't win this league, we're coming back stronger again next year, and we're gonna attack it. And I think, honestly, if we don't win it next year or this year, we're probably gonna run away with it next year, like we did in 2020.
Yep.
If I'm being perfectly honest, and that's what kind of helps me sleep at night in terms of the league. I know that this isn't our only chance. We're going to be straight back in on it next season. I still think we could do it, all 3. I'm a little bit more confident though with the FA Cup and Champions League.
Captain Sal says, as long as it's mathematically possible, we're winning the quadruple. I'm 100% with you. Sam Tandy says quadruple may not be likely, but it's still on. It's never been done before, so maybe this is the only way it can be. The LFC way, which is always the hardest way. Kev, FA Cup, European.
I've always said we don't do easy, and this has it's been out of our hands since the draw at the Etihad. That's just the simple truth of it. All we can do is keep them honest. And I think we'll do our bit. In the league, I think we'll do our bit. And whether they'll do theirs, if I was one of the players and Pep was coming out after us winning 5-0, after the defeat, in the humiliation of the defeat in Madrid, and he's talking about Liverpool rather than talking about his players, I'd have a bee in my bonnet over that. Now, look, I think they're professional enough. I think they'll probably go on and win the rest of their games. You know, they're an excellent side. Let's not beat around the bush. They're top tier. The league is going to be very, very difficult. I think we'll win the cups. I think the fact that we've got competitive games helps us. I don't think it helps Madrid. I think the fact that Madrid have their league sewn up, done and dusted. They were playing Atletico tonight. I don't know how it went. But I know their centre-back pairing was Nacho and that guy they brought on with a few minutes to go.
The fella that was at Wolves?
Yeah. And Camavinga played.
By Atletico.
Yeah, Camavinga played. They made plenty of changes. And I just don't think...
played. I'll tell you, Jovic played, Camavinga, Lucas Vazquez, Vallejo, Nacho, Militao, Casemiro, Cruz, Rodrigo, and Asensio.
The fella carried his own fucking leg off the pitch the other night.
Yeah, well, he went off.
But
even the keeper was changed. He had Lunan.
Yeah, they changed the keeper. The Lunan played, yeah. The thing is, that wouldn't suit us. It might suit them. I just don't see it. I don't see how you can go into a game in a month's time not having that competitive edge. And they can talk about 13 Champions Leagues and all the experience that God sends and what have you. That doesn't substitute for hard games in the legs of meaningful football. And that's what we're going to get between now and the end of the season. We're going to go into the Champions League final seasoned and hardened and ready. Mm. And I don't believe that they will be. I think they'll be rested, but I don't think they'll be as sharp as they could be as if they were playing in meaningful league games up to the end.
Yeah, we
You're
get a week.
fighting
We
for
get a
something.
week's break. In fairness, between it, like
Yeah.
it's not like we're playing on the Thursday and then we're asked to play on the Saturday.
No,
You know,
exactly.
sort of way.
But I think that's enough for us.
Yeah, no, I think
Any more than that,
Yeah,
and I'd be worried.
I don't like even going into the last European Cup final. I think we had a 2-week break between the last league
Yeah,
game
yeah,
and Spurs, and I was like,
And we were worried
No,
about that at the
no,
time. I
literally,
remember watching the pods.
you know, our players will be fucking, you know, no, they just seize up. I'd rather just be on a bit. And I think the week is nice. I think you finish up on the Sunday, regardless of what happens in the league. You give the players a day or two off. They come back in, or maybe a day off on the Monday, and you come back in on the Tuesday. You do a bit of recovery, and then it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you're into the game. And they'll be in Madrid from probably Thursday, I'd say. And it'll be a nice week long thing. They probably be
we're
on
going
the
to go to
Gargan.
Madrid. We're going to go to Madrid first, just to load it.
What did I say? Paris. Sorry,
said
Paris.
We'll go to Paris.
Sorry.
You couldn't get
We
flights.
go-
The flights have gone through the roof.
Yeah,
We're going. They're flying. Yeah, the flights are all over the shop, so they're flying to Madrid, and then again the train to Paris because the cost is mental. Thank God Chelsea went in the European Cup final. They'd have to go by bus for fuck's sake.
Swim.
But listen, for me, I'm a bit wary of Chelsea. I think they're falling off a cliff a little bit. Yeah, and I think they have fucking Kante and deep freeze waiting to come out and play on Saturday. I think.
You're terrified of Kante.
Because he's a brilliant footballer, in fairness, and he's just brilliant at what he does. I think since the news of Rudiger going has come out properly, I think he's been really, really good. Sorry, I think he has been really, really poor. Chelsea just don't look like they're trying. I think they've literally said, right, just let's scrape into third, and we're not going to get any higher. There's no point in pushing. I think they're absolutely holding themselves for our FA Cup final. But having said that, if they do that, I think they play Wednesday this week, don't they? And then we play them Saturday. So I think if they were to kind of nurse themselves through that game again, can they get themselves up and going? I think Liverpool love that routine, and regardless of what the result is on Tuesday night, Liverpool will be raring to go on Saturday. I am a bit wary of Chelsea, but I think the form we're in and the form they're in, I wonder if they can get going, and I'm wondering if you'll start seeing some issues with Tommy Tuchel as well. That's just more in hope than expectation, to be honest. From my point of view,
I don't think you're far off there, because I think the issues they've got with the we've got the new owners and the preferred buyers and what have you. There's an awful lot of hurdles still to go through before that deal is gone through, and by the time that happens, they're still not allowed to negotiate contracts or talk to players or anything. They really are hamstrung in what they're allowed to do, and I'm wondering if Tuchel is looking at it and thinking, if this doesn't get over the line, I'm going to have to start looking elsewhere, and that what jobs are out there at the minute.
Yeah, I'm just looking because someone says there that apparently he's had to falling out with Alonso, and he won't be playing. Aspilicueta is on his way out. Rudiger already pictured in a Madrid shirt. I don't know how true that is, but possibly. But on the European Cup final, it's still Real Madrid. It's still a European Cup final against Real Madrid. Yeah. But you have to be in it to win it. And
exactly.
I actually think what happens next Saturday, the following Sunday, will absolutely drive Liverpool in that European Cup final, a bit like 18-19 when we lost the league on the last day of the season, and we went and we beat Spurs 2 weeks later. But I think I'm with you. I think we can win both cups. I'm not giving up on the league. I will never give up on the league title until you tell me it's impossible, and it could be impossible come Tuesday night, or Wednesday night. But I won't give up on it. Absolutely not. There's no reason in this world why West Ham and Wolves could both draw with Man City, and we could be Villa and Southampton and go into the last day of the season the point clear. There's no reason in the world why that could happen.
West Ham surprised me this weekend because of the way they went out in Europe.
Yeah.
I honestly expect them to fold.
But they're driven to try to get back into that again and have another go.
And with
That was
United
massive.
falling off a cliff as well, that gives them something to push for. They can get Europa League again rather than Conference League.
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden they do have a chance.
But anyway, the quadruple is still on, according to me.
Of course it is.
Clip it up, send it out, then all the fucking Man United fans can listen to it.
Let them.
Let them. They're irrelevant to me. Keith, how are you feeling before we go?
Yeah, look, what about the two cups?
In general, life, doesn't matter.
All right, yeah.
Whatever
I think
you
we
want.
win the two cups.
Yeah.
But yeah, life. Look, people get too downbeat over a draw, and that's the game we're in now. Do you know what I mean? That's the game we're playing. it's a different kettle of fish. Someone had put in the chat there, do you think Liverpool can go invincible? I think it's only a matter of time before Liverpool or City break that invincible record, because you're looking at 90 odd points and turning, defeats, draws are like defeats now. So if you can turn a narrow loss into a draw, I can see one of the teams doing it in the next few years. But look, there's no need to fall off, the bandwagon with Liverpool. We can still do two more trophies here, and I'm not giving up on the Premier League until it's mathematically gone. And even then, I'll think, maybe the Premier League will fuck them out and dock them points for being cheating bastards. But might be wishful thinking. Who knows? But look, until the quadruple is gone, it's still on. That's my take on it. I could sing a song, but I won't sing a song.
I was going to say, for people to get over what's been a bit of a disappointing weekend, maybe you could suggest some music for them to listen to during the week. But I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you in a second.
Christy Bloom's version of the Green Fields of France is highly recommended. Highly recommended.
If you're looking to get yourself up for the week, don't listen to Christy Dignam's version of the Green Fields of France.
I tweeted this out. Look on my Twitter and you'll find it.
You know what I mean?
See by your graveside you were only 19.
He's off again. But come here, Kev, anything else before we go?
No, just looking forward to the next game. Villa can't wait to watch us again. I just want to see us get back on the bike and get back onto winning ways.
Good stuff.
It's going to be a cracking week.
Another cracking week.
This is it now. Yeah, this is it. I mean, you were spot on what you said. You got to be in it to win it. We're in all of it.
Yeah.
Zupdog makes a good point there about Roy Hodgson. See him thanking all the Palace fans.
Yeah, he's got down at Crystal Palace, wasn't it?
Yeah,
walking out with Selhurst, clapping the Palace fans, just ignoring the Watford fans who just got relegated. Absolutely astonishing stuff. 400 people watching, 156 likes. 3 people don't like what we're doing. Leave something in the comments afterwards. Tell us what we're doing wrong and we'll try fix it. Or Keith will sing you a song, record a song and send it to you.
Those 3 likes are going to multiply after you hear that.
The 3 dislikes, but as I said, if you don't like it, give us a reason why you don't like it. We're big boys, we can take it. Emma, anything else before we go?
No, same as Kev, just we go again. Still a lot to play for. Looking forward to it. Can I actually just say, and I know I spoke to you about this, say thanks to a friend of mine, John Dunn. I ran a last man standing for Féileacáin, and he won it today when Leicester lost to Everton. And I texted him to tell him he won 175 quid, and he told me to just donate it all to Féileacáin. So nice one, John.
Fair play to John. 4 people don't like now, and we should definitely have comments. Not because of what you just said, by the way. But no, fair play to John. He did win the last man standing. That Emmett runs €175, and it will be put into the Féileacáin account. We have got 2 holes on the golf course still left to sponsor, €100 each. If anybody wants to do that, you can contact us via email, lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com, or if you know any other individual or company that would like to do it. 2 left. That's all we have. 2 left. It'll be another €200 straight into the account, and we'll slowly but surely get there. But that's Féileacáin, and you know something, it's a brilliant charity. There's a couple of donations have come in this week. We'd like to see more, but if you do your job and donate or share it amongst your family, friends, etc., we will get there. But that's a great way to start the week with that from John, and thanks a million to him. 6 people don't like now, they're doing it as a wind-up, lads, just to let you know, right? Pricks there. But that has been the Fatback 4 for tonight. What we got this week, should have a cop update tomorrow. This house is back to normal, so I'll be back on as much as I can this week. We will have winners and losers tomorrow night. We will have full-time Reds on Tuesday night, midweek fix Wednesday night, off on Thursday night, Friday night Sports Unplugged. Saturday we will have full-time Reds after the FA Cup final, and Sunday we will have the Fatback 4. So loads and loads to come. Hit the like button on your way out. All them unliking people, hit the like button, you pricks. There's 9 of them now. But if you can remember to undo that, I know you're messing, but if you can remember to undo that, because that doesn't look good apparently. But
that's not good. That's
not good. Listen, it doesn't matter. Do we just fucking like? We don't care.
Many tears are crying.
But he's singing now. Where do you see the unlike fly up now?
It ain't over till it's over.
Great choice of song. Now there's a song for the week.
Laura Duffy said it
for the week. Oh, Laura Duffy
Lenny
threw it in.
Kravitz.
Right, well, there you go. So Laura Duffy suggested it. Keith is singing it. But as I said, hit the like button if you like what we're doing. Subscribe if you want to subscribe if you haven't already. Share it across your social media. Keep the comments coming. Keep winding us up by hitting the thumbs down button. Fair play to you. And we will see you during the week. That has been the Fatback 4. Thanks a million to Kev, Keith, Emma, everyone in the chat. Thanks a million to Emmett's mate who donated 175 quid tonight. And if we can get a few more of them in by the end of the week, we'd be absolutely flying. Talk to you in a bit. Over now.